we're here, Randy, and we're having a humid day here in Colorado, which is unusual. It's funny, we had a record today. They said it was the highest dew point in Colorado in 17 years. It was like 80 some percent humidity. It was Dallas type humidity, which for Colorado is really unusual, though at least it'll help quell some of the fires we have. But I've got a great guest on tonight. I actually saw him at Killer Nashville a couple of years ago doing a panel, and I've had a run of people that were like FBI, CIA, a U.S. Marshal, former U.S. Marshal. So I'm getting a lot of people coming on, but I'm going to bring him up on the screen now. But we've got Darin Werkmeister here today. Hi, Darin. How's it going?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on, Randy.
You're welcome. Yeah, I've been lucky. I've been able to get a lot of people who've been in law enforcement. I had Mark Cameron last week, which he's a former U.S. Marshal. I've had Carmen Amato, Tracy Hunter Admonson a couple of weeks ago. Both of them have been in the CIA, and I've had Bruce Coffin on. He's a former sheriff, and
Wow.
almost all of those will be going to Killer Nashville, which
Awesome.
we'll talk about a little bit later. But appreciate you being on. I know you were at Deadwood this year with me, and we got to talk for a little bit. And I asked you to be on the show, and you were kind enough. And I've been trying to get a lot of Killer Nashville guests, so I appreciate you being on. You're out there in the steamy East Coast, from what we were talking earlier.
Yeah, I'm right outside of Philadelphia. So yeah, it's I heard you talking about the humidity, and yeah, it's like a sauna out here right now. It is very unpleasant.
Well, it's unusual for us to be that. You like Monday it was 9% humidity.
Yeah.
And today it's 88%. When I got up overnight, I got up and we use an evaporative cooler, which doesn't work very well when it's very humid. I'm like, why is this? It's like, oh my gosh, where did all this humidity come from? And it was very foggy and everything. So very unusual for us in July to be like that. So
yeah, it's usually drier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, much dry. Sometimes it's so dry you get nosebleeds and stuff. It's terrible stuff. So, but never mind. We'll stay away from the weather because
Can't do anything about it.
Yeah. But thanks for being on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. All the important stuff that people need to know.
Geez, important. I don't know, but yeah, I was a former Marine Corps officer, and then I went into I had a job with a defense contractor in between, and then I went into the FBI, and I was assigned to the Philadelphia division. I did 21 years in the Philadelphia division as a criminal investigator, some white collar crime. Spent the bulk of my career doing organized crime, Italian organized crime, Eastern European, Russian organized crime. That was a fantastic squad, great work. And finished up my career. I was the airport liaison coordinator for Philadelphia International. So I was down at Philly International, had a little office down there, worked with CBP and Homeland Security and the Philly PD and TSA, and yeah, ran a tight ship down there for a couple of years.
All the alphabet soup there. Huh?
It was alphabet soup down there every day. Yep, we joked about it, Yeah, it was fun. Good group down there. We had a great time. Retired from the bureau. I worked at Vanguard, the mutual fund company, for a little while in corporate security with them. And then I kind of retired, and here I am.
So you FBI, you were working with, you said white collar crime and organized crime and all that. So should we be blotting out your face and changing your voice here? Yeah.
No, we operate under true name. So yeah,
Yeah.
we were all out there. It was, you can look up cases and you'll see my name pop and that. Yeah. So we operate under true name. I didn't do any undercover work. That wasn't, that wasn't, my cup of tea. We had a lot of guys that did that, and God bless them, but that wasn't for me.
not your cup of tea, huh?
No.
So I always like to ask. So, what was it about the working in the FBI? You did it for 21 years that you really enjoyed. What part of that work that really drove you to stay there for so long?
It was the people. It
Yeah.
was working with the people. It was I kind of say, like, think of it this way. It's like when you get a group of creative, smart people who are all working together towards the same objective, it's like nothing else in the world. And some of your other guests probably felt the same way working with the CIA, and working with the marshals and that. And I worked a little bit with the CIA liaison we had in Philly, with the marshals, great organizations. And for me, it was the people. It was fantastic, smart, funny, creative people trying to figure out problems, trying to figure out cases, trying to make things work. And that's what really drove it for me. The work was very interesting and fun as well. But if it wasn't a group of people that I liked, I probably would have punched sooner. But yeah, it was fantastic.
So, were the cases a lot of times very consuming, time consuming, a lot involved, very long term, take
Yeah,
months and
yeah,
months, maybe years?
years,
Yeah.
years. Yeah, from start to finish, they would run years. We had some cases. Well, we had an international fugitive, and that case went on for um, over a decade. Guy's not coming back. He's in a country that isn't going to extradite. You know, we kept picking around the edges and that, and seeing if we could catch him somewhere, try and get something, and yeah, it just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, you don't stop. You just keep
Yeah.
going. Hope you get that lucky break one day.
Right. So, what about the job did you find most challenging? And I'm sure there's probably a long list because I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, it can be very stressful. I'm sure.
yeah, there were times that it was stressful. Um, I'm trying to think of, your memory gets a little clouded. You remember the really good things, and I'm trying to remember some of the
You block
frustrating.
out those bad things, right? So that's for therapy, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's between me and my therapist. No. But yeah, I mean, there were frustrations. There would be once in a while you'd have a personality clash with someone, or you'd have a case that you really believed in, and you were convinced that you had the necessary probable cause to move forward to do something, and you'd run into somebody at the U.S. Attorney's office who have a different perspective on things, and they may say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Let's slow your roll here a little bit. Let's go." And then sometimes this actually happened, and I coined the term declination through investigation. Um, which a declination is when the U.S. Attorney's Office says, "No, we're not taking the case."
Right.
Well, without a formal declination, they could just say, "Well, go back and get me this." Well, that's great. Can you go back and try and find some evidence of this? Okay. Well, yeah, and it would just go on and on and on, and it literally would turn into a declination through investigation. They were never going to prosecute the case, had
Right.
no inclination to prosecute it, but did not want to give a formal declination. So that I did have that happen in a case, and that was very frustrating.
So I guess they always want winners, right? They want to
That's
go
it.
in there and they know there's not going to be any problems.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There's a reason that they have like a 97% conviction rate, right? Because they're going to take those cases that are really the low hanging fruit. Having said that, there will be times when they're like, you know what, this is important. We're going to go. We're going to roll that dice and see what we get. And we've had those, and those are the prosecutors you go to war with. And it's happened where we've had some others, and I understand their position. I
Yeah.
understand their position. In the moment, it's frustrating, but ultimately, I get it.
So I saw on your website that you were on the Philadelphia FBI SWAT team at one
Yes.
time or another as well, which I find very interesting. I did a police academy here, the Westminster Police Academy, and they have a SWAT team here, and got to see the equipment and and they had the big honking, armor plated truck that they have and
Yep.
everything, which is incredible, and some of the weapons that they use and stuff. So what was that like training for SWAT? I mean, it looks like it's fairly physically demanding.
It was physically demanding. Yeah. It was we shot, we trained every month, sometimes every other week. We were out at the range training, and you're not just shooting, you're running other drills. You're running drills of recovering a downed officer. You're room clearing like nobody's business. That's what your bread and butter is breaching and room clearing. That's, the most dangerous things. That's what you're going to practice the most. I was also then the chemical weapons agent. So I had to go to a special school for that. I got sprayed with pepper spray. I got sprayed with tear gas. Every day we got hit with something. They're like, well, if you're going to deploy it, you need to know what it feels like. So,
Do you get used to that? I mean,
no, I didn't.
no, you don't build up any kind of tolerance to it, right? It's just,
There are guys that do.
yeah,
The instructors will develop a tolerance for that,
yeah.
for tear gas, and things like that, where it really doesn't have that effect on them. But um, I, thank God, did not do it enough that I ever developed a tolerance for it.
I know when we were there with they took one of the flashbangs and they rolled
Yep.
it out in the parking lot and had it go off,
Yeah,
and it was incredible. And I'm thinking inside of a
I was
confined
just going to say,
room,
now put that into a room,
yeah.
and
Oh,
the concussion from that is, yeah,
well, they said
is
they get used to that too. They do
if
it
you
often enough, and they know when it's going to happen too, so they can do it. But they
exactly,
said
they know what
eventually
to
they get,
expect.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but for the person who doesn't know what's, and out of the blue, like, if a noise happens and you startle, right?
yeah,
Just imagine that kind of noise coming unexpectedly, and the startle effect of that, and that's the whole purpose of those things, is gives you that 2 seconds of sensory overload on the person, where they're like literally frozen, with the noise and the flash and everything, and their brain shuts down.
yeah.
They're
They said
effective.
they had said they had some too that will go off as many as 9 times.
Oh wow,
Is
yeah,
what they told us, and I'm like, once would be enough, but I guess
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's a large room or something with a lot of people.
After the third or fourth time, the person's probably just walking out, like, okay, that's enough, I'm done.
Yeah. So you're a Marine, you said, officer as well. Thank you
Yep,
for the service.
thank you.
And how many years did you do that? Obviously,
I
you
just did
were
that for
probably a
4 years.
youngster then. Was that before the FBI days?
Yeah, yeah. I went through college. I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I went to college on a Naval ROTC scholarship. So I attended the University of Nebraska Lincoln, on that scholarship, and then went into the Marine Corps after graduation. So, yep.
And a lot of people are in the military. A lot of times will transition to law enforcement. Is at what point did you realize, I think I want to be in law enforcement?
Well, it's funny because the FBI Academy is on the Marine Corps base in Quantico.
Hmm.
They're both in Quantico. So when I was in Quantico at the basic school, TBS, we would go for humps and runs and do land navigation, and oftentimes we'd pop out near the FBI Academy, and we would see them in the stores down there, and we would see them on the roads running and chat with them a little bit. Their building was a lot nicer than ours. Uh, they didn't look
Better
like they
budget,
were
huh?
having nearly as miserable a time as we were having. And so there is a lot of Marine Corps officers that go into the FBI, and I think it is partly because of that exposure at Quantico, of seeing the academy, talking with the agents down there, training, and seeing a little bit about that, and there is an interest, from I know a number of Marine Corps officers that transitioned and ultimately wound up in the FBI. A
And probably pays better too, right?
little bit.
Yeah. Do they have recruiters there at the FBI that are kind of whispering in people's ears occasionally?
No,
No,
they don't recruit right from because they know you've got a commitment. They're tied up for
right.
4 years. Who
You're
knows where they're
stuck,
going to
right?
be? Yeah, yeah. All the recruiters for the FBI are in the field offices.
So how long have you been writing? When did you decide? I mean, were you a big reader when you were a youngster, or when did all that bug hit you?
Yeah, it's funny. I used to read a lot when I was a kid. Obviously, I read through college, um, and read when I was in the Marine Corps, and that. Once I got into the FBI, it kind of fell off. I just didn't have time
Right.
to do that, and honestly, my mind was in a different place because it's one of those things where you're constantly thinking about your cases. You're thinking about what the next steps are. It's a long term game of chess. I was very preoccupied with that. And when I started writing again was after I'd gotten out of the bureau. My father had been in an accident and he was paralyzed. So I would talk to, and he was back in Nebraska where I grew up. So when I wasn't back visiting him, I talked to him every day on the phone for a good hour and a half in the afternoon, checked in with him, and we would just chat. Maybe we'd watch a baseball game, same game if we could, or whatever, or a Nebraska football game. Well, he ended up passing away in late 2020. And suddenly I had this hole of time and mental energy that I just didn't have an outlet for anymore. So I started to do some creative writing, more as just kind of a therapeutic release than than anything else, and started writing. And then I started writing a story, and then I was like, it's going to be a short story, and then I started writing more, and I started getting into the characters and that, and it turned into my first book. Um, and that's it in a nutshell. I kind of backed into this through a therapeutic process, um, you know, and
Sure.
discovered that I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I often ask is, do you find writing therapeutic? Obviously, in your case, you did.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. You can express things through your characters, and that you may not be fully in touch with, um, and you can slip into this world of your own creation where you have total control over everything, and it's comforting. So yeah, that's yeah. I find it very therapeutic. I find it mentally stimulating and also emotionally stimulating as well.
Yeah, and obviously it keeps the brain going too. As we get older, we
Yeah.
gotta have that extra stimulation and stuff. So, what was that first thing you wrote? Has that turned out to be your first book, or
Yeah.
have you written some other things? So, really,
Yeah.
that
No,
was what
it,
became
it,
it.
it became the first book,
Yeah.
Volk. And there's actually the kind of the kernel of where that book came from was a late night surveillance
There's a couple of the other.
in South Philadelphia. Oh, thank you. There it is.
Mhm.
We were in South Philadelphia and we were covering a mob hangout, and there was a planned install of a covert recording device. And in order to do that, you have to break in, or you're doing some things, and you have to make sure you can do this in a way that no one knows your guys are there. So we have specialized people who do that, but the squad who they're doing it for will go out there and do what they call as a survey, overnight survey. So basically, from 7 p.m. until 6 in the morning, we're out on the street, parked in cars, scattered around the neighborhood. We want to know who's getting off the bus, coming home late from work, who's getting up early for work, who's, moving here and there. What's the normal routine for that neighborhood? When's the best time for that install to happen? So we were out late one night, I don't know, 2, 3 in the morning. We're all getting slap happy. And my partner gets out of the car to go look at something. He's about 6'4", And he gets out of the car and he starts to move. Well, he's been sitting for a while. His legs are a little stiff, so he's a little gimpy getting out of the car, and he's kind of hunched over. The street light hits him in just the right way and casts a shadow that looks like a Sasquatch. And one of the people that was out with us was a task force officer of Pennsylvania State Police trooper, who one of the funniest people I've ever met. He gets on the radio. Now, my partner can't hear. He gets on the radio and he does the Sasquatch call that all the cars can hear and can see the shadow. So he does the, I lost it. I was crying, laughing. That incident stuck in my head as just a kernel for a story about what would happen if FBI agents were on the street late at night and they saw something they couldn't explain. So Volk is a supernatural thriller. I tell people it's the X-Files meets the Bourne Identity. And that is the kernel that started the story that I was just playing around with in my head, and exploring some things and working with, and that's where it came to be.
So what is Volk? The Volk, is that an acronym for something?
No, Volk has two meanings in a foreign language. In German, it means people. This is Russian. Volk in Russian is wolf.
Wow.
So it is the Russian usage of the word Volk.
So it's a supernatural thriller. So obviously based a little bit in truth, but obviously fiction. You never ran into any supernatural things, I'm assuming, on the job maybe
No.
that you can tell us about.
Yeah, nothing I can mention. No, but yeah, and it's the Kirkus review for it said it is a tight crime story with a smattering of werewolves. Who could ask for anything more? So the crime part of that story is actually based on a case that my partner and I worked for years and years and years. Russian money laundering with an oligarch and all of that. So that is loosely based. All of the names have been changed. All of the
Right.
facts are different, but the form and function of it is drawn from that case.
Now, with Tracy and Carmen being in the CIA, most of their stuff they have to run through them before they can publish them. They got to get the stamp of approval. Is that true as well as
Yes.
being in the FBI?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sent that. I had to send my manuscript to FBI headquarters. I had some very funny back and forths with them. They had to come and they said, so this casework that you list in here, what cases is it drawn from? So I gave them the case numbers, the subject names, all of those things. And they have to go through and make sure I'm not using anyone's real name. I'm not, divulging anything that is sensitive or undisclosed at this time. And then they came back to me and they said, okay, so we're assuming that there were no incidents with werewolves that we need to look for in the case file. I said, no, I can confirm I had no incidents with that. They're like, okay, the best was they came back and they said, if you continue to write in this vein, you don't have to send us any more manuscripts.
So long as there's a werewolf in it.
Exactly.
Okay with it,
So
huh?
I think I've skirted the system sufficiently at this point. I wore them down, and I've thrown enough of a supernatural element in there that they've lost interest. So yes, but it's a long way of saying that yes, I did in fact have to get FBI headquarters approval before I published.
So for the other authors out there who may have been in that world working, that's your out, right? You can throw
Exactly.
something in there. Our world. I mean, like you said, X-Files. The X-Files stuff was
right.
I don't know if they ever did solve any of those things in there.
I don't know.
Chris
They
Carter,
never went to
it just
grand
kept
jury.
going on and on and on and on.
Right.
It's like,
They never went to grand jury. They never went to trial. I'm like, those people have some statistics that they just were really lacking on.
so you had the first book, so you have a second book as well, and I'm assuming it's in the same series, right? Book
Yes, yes,
two.
that's
Yeah.
the second book in the series. Yep, it's the characters continue on their journey, encountering some other problems, and we meet some new characters, and um, goes forward from there.
So who are your main protagonists? Are they FBI agents or is it the werewolf?
Yes, yes. I'm not going to give any spoilers on that, but yes.
Okay.
So my main protagonist is a female FBI agent named Terry Watson. She has a partner who is Mark Peterson. He is a Philadelphia homicide detective who is assigned to the FBI as a task force officer. And those are the two main uh, protagonists. There's also Sarah Holmes, um, who is another FBI agent who ends up joining their team. And then there is Jerry Williams, who is the medical examiner in Philadelphia. And she's part of the team as well.
So are any of those characters based on you?
there's there's elements of me in a number of the characters. I think anything we write, we're gonna, I heard the expression, "What steal like an artist." So we draw from people we know, we draw from our own experiences, and we put them all together, and we form and craft a new person out of all of that. So there are elements of me that are with Terry, elements of me that are with Mark. Those two people actually are strongly based upon people I worked with.
Mhm.
But some of the character things that I've thrown in there are parts of me as well. So yeah, that's and it's how you build a character. You draw from what you see, from what you hear, interactions you have with people, interesting little things that they say that give some insight, and you just kind of, that's the way I do it anyway. And I pull
Sure.
all of this together and start to mold my person, um, and work with that. As we were discussed before we came on, I'm a total pantser.
Yes, we'll get into the pantser. So everybody's a little bit of a Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster, right?
Yeah,
You're
it isn't.
throwing a lot of things.
Exactly. Exactly. It is. It's a composite of a number of people, and then some of the creation is just of my own because I want the characters to have certain traits or characteristics that I may not have seen in somebody, but I'm like, I want that in them. So bring that forward.
So you've got two books. Is there going to be more?
Yeah, I'm writing the third one now.
Mhm.
I'm almost finished with the first draft. So that hopefully then, depending on rewrites and everything from there, will be out. I'm not even going to give a deadline, but but sooner rather than later, I will say that. But yes, there is a third one, and then I have a completely different story in mind that I've actually started and put on the back burner, and I'm very anxious to get back to that. It's very different than the first three books.
Still in the same series, or this will be a
No,
totally
no,
different series?
it'll be more of a standalone.
Okay.
Um, so that one is always just percolating in the back of my mind. And I'm sure you've got works in progress that you're like, I would love to get to that at some point, or just pops in your head like, oh, that would be really cool. So that's kicking around right now.
Yeah, I'm actually back and forth between two books right now myself. So
I can't
yeah,
do that.
it's
I can't.
a little challenging sometimes doing that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But
Good on you for
because
that.
it's burning a hole in my head, I had to start the next book in my newest series because those ideas I couldn't go to sleep at night because they were just there. So I had to get them out of my head. But
I understand. I understand. I right now I would have a tremendous amount of trouble. I think trying to switch back and forth, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
well, it's a little more challenging when you're a pantster
Yes.
because you're not really out strictly outlining. So you said you're a total pantster. So is there some aspects when you sit down and I'm going to be on a panel. I'm going to be the moderator on a pantster panel. Well, that'll be one of the things I'll ask is like when you're sitting down to write, what do you start with as a pantster? Do you have a? Is there just like just a little snippet of an idea, a title? What? I mean, I'm sure it varies from book to book, but
Yeah, yeah. I what I picture are specific scenes, pivotal scenes that I want to have, and I generally have the story in my head. I know where it's going to go. I
mhm.
know the beginning and I know the ending, and then I have these specific scenes in there and that I want to get through. And as I'm writing, I will write a draft of a chapter, and then I'll go back the next day and I'll read it and I'll say, I want to add some detail in here. I want to bring this out for more in the forefront. And just kind of work it a little bit as I go along. This character, and I start thinking, well, that character would no, they wouldn't say that. They would say this, or they would do this, and here's their motivation why they would do this. And as you get to know your characters better, it becomes easier because they just speak through you. Which sounds funny, but it's kind of the way it feels. But yeah, so I have specific scenes that I will work through, and then I'm like, okay, to get to that scene, what has to happen? And I'll work backwards and say, well, in an investigation, if that's your end result, you will have done this, 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 and then I'll start writing it in that form there to get to that endpoint that I know exists.
Are you sometimes surprised?
Yes.
Sometimes things change on you.
Oh yeah.
Some certain character, like you said, the characters sometimes are in the room with you, and it does
Yes.
sound, you write a supernatural book, but for me, the characters there, and sometimes characters are like, no, I need to be fleshed out more, or I want a bigger part in the story. No, don't kill me off, those type of things. Right? Yeah, I mean, it sounds weird, but that sometimes is what happens.
It is. Yeah, I tell people, I said, well, writing justifies the voices in my head. Um, now I have a reason, right? Um, but no, that's exactly it. And especially as a answer, and I got to assume even a plotter has this happen where you start writing and things just fall.
Right.
The action falls a certain way, the character reacts a certain way, and I may not have thought of that before I started writing, but as I'm typing it, all of a sudden it's there. And sometimes a scene will take a hard right turn
Right.
because of that. I tried to do a little bit more plotter for the second book, um, and right out of the gate, it took a right turn, and I got a few of those things in there, but yeah, the plot that I had in my head is not the one that wound up on the pages.
Yeah, I understand what you're thinking of. When I first started, I wanted to try to be a plotter, and it just didn't work for me, and
Yeah,
it's not the way
yeah.
I
I think
write.
it's a whether it's personality or the way our brains work or the way the creative juices need to flow. Whatever it is, for some people they can do that, and others it's very constricting. And like I said, I actually tried. I had the 3x5 cards out. I was doing the whole thing and
Little
drew it out.
storyboard going there, and
I had the big board, and I'm doing the whole thing, and I've got each chapter listed and what's going to happen in that chapter, and the whole thing went out the window. Uh, After 30, 40 pages, it was out the window. I did take some elements from that. I'm like, well, that's like I said, that's a scene.
right,
Like that's a scene I'm keeping. I'm going to keep
right.
that, and I'm going to work it where it needs to go. But yeah,
Well, and I always feel like too when you're writing, you're discovering things as your characters are discovering things too. Sometimes it's that journey you're going on together. So
right, right. And
yeah,
sometimes you learn about the character the same time they learn about the character, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was there. Okay, now we do. Now we all know.
so are you a diligent writer? Do you try to write every day, or are you kind of a streak writer, or
I try to write something every day, and there's some days that
Doesn't
life
work.
gets in the way,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But if I can, my best routines are get up in the morning, have my coffee, have breakfast, go for about a 45 to 60-minute walk, think, just roll stuff around, back in the house, another cup of coffee, sit at the computer and just start going and just go for a few hours. Um, Take a break then midday, maybe run some errands, go do whatever, and then later in the afternoon come back and get another couple of hours in because again, as I'm doing things, it's rumbling around up there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my best days. Those are my ideal days.
So then, are you self-published, traditionally published, hybrid? What role do
Self-published.
you say?
Yeah, I'm self-published. I tried the traditional publishing route, and um, I'm a complete unknown. I'm, uh, I don't have a huge social media following, and I'm writing some crazy hybrid crime, supernatural, maybe people would say a splash of horror thrown in there as well. Although I'll tell people the books are not overly scary. But, just when you're writing in that vein, people immediately think horror. So at first, I was kind of put off by the agents who were like, no, we'll pass. But I get it. I actually do get it because I'm like, they're taking a risk. It's their time is money. If they're going to take me as a client, I'm a complete unknown. And then they've got to try and sell this to a publisher. And I don't, my work is not in a conventional box that's going to be easy for a publisher to decide, yay, nay, we know exactly how to market this. They don't. So I completely understand the decision. So I decided to go independent.
And how's that gone for you? Obviously, it can be challenging to getting the formatting right, and obviously, you got the marketing aspect and everything. Uh,
Yeah, I found some folks that I pay for formatting. I give them my design I want for the cover. The covers are my own designs. That's one of the great things about independent is you have complete artistic control.
right.
Um, One of the downsides of being independent is you have complete artistic control. There's no one to tell you no. So, but I like to think that that's working out. But for me, the most challenging part is the marketing. Um, and honestly, that is one reason the third book is lagging in time is time that I would normally spend writing, I have to spend trying to figure out marketing, trying to, update this, trying to figure out where to run ads, how to run those ads, all of those things that go into an independent marketing plan. There's no one else but me. And if you're an independent out there, you're a one-man band. That's it. There's nobody working the keyboard or the percussions for you. You're doing the whole thing. So there's only so much time available in a day, and it actually takes a good bit of time away from what I really like to do, which is the creative part.
So, who are some authors that you enjoyed reading? And you kind of cross over into two major genres there. So, but
Yeah, yeah,
who's the
yeah.
stuff that you like to read?
Yeah, it's that's a good question. And I was thinking of books that I read a while back that really kind of stuck with me, and authors that stuck with. Obviously, I mean, you can't mention horror or anything like that without mentioning Stephen King.
Yes, of course.
Obviously, he's the master, and we all bow before him. Um, but the other guy was Richard Preston, who wrote The Hot Zone years ago, back in the 90s. And it wasn't fiction, but the way he told this story about an Ebola outbreak, I couldn't stop reading it. So it's kind of contemporary thriller, and I read a number of his things, And then there is, when I remember reading in high school, I remember going to a yard sale when I was in high school, and I bought a couple of books for, I don't know, a quarter a piece. And they were Frederick Forsyth books.
Mhm.
And I started reading those, and I was like, this guy knows how to tell a story. And I think I've read them a couple of times. And obviously, Jurassic Park, Jaws, things like that. I mean, the summer blockbuster books and things like that. But I was trying to think back to the earliest ones that I can say is like an adult. I was a teenager that really kind of stuck with me, and it was Frederick Forsyth with the Dogs of War and the Odessa File and the Day of the Jackal, you know, and those that kind of fast paced um, you know action, and the story, every page the story advances,
Right.
um, you know, and I'm like, that kind of stuck with me.
So you've written books. What you mentioned there's a book that you want to write in a little bit different vein. Is there anything else that's still rolling around your head, or something that you want to write that maybe is kind of outside the norm of what you've currently been writing?
Yeah, I haven't I haven't really thought that far. I'm a
Hmm.
pantser.
Yeah.
No, but I figure that other book is going to be another year. So I figure I'm fully engaged for the next year and a half. And as I work through those, um, I may end up coming back and revisiting some things with the Volk series in a historical fiction sort of vein, and I historical fiction is something that I really enjoy um, currently. So I'm kicking that idea around of taking, without getting into giving away too many spoilers for Volk, but getting into um, the antagonist, I guess, in that, and going back and back and
Yeah.
back and looking at different historical periods and crafting a story, some historical fiction with that at some point.
So, well, this other book uh, outside of the Volk series, will anyone cross over into that book, or is
No,
that going to be totally separate?
yeah, it's what I'm envisioning right now is it's a separate story, but it's in the same universe.
Hmm.
So there will be no direct characters that cross over, but there will be some similarity, some similar capabilities, I guess would be the best way to put it. From two characters with similar heritage. So that if somebody does read the Volk series and they read this work in progress that I have, they come from the same universe, and you could kind of see where they might fit in to each other, or at least loosely fit into that universe's puzzle.
Cool. So, I always like to ask everyone, the name of the show is Bringing Life to Characters. So, what do you look for? And some of your characters are based on people you've known, or at least parts of them. So, but what do you do? What do you feel like you need to do to get those characters to jump off the page and make them lifelike? What?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting question, because it's what makes a person interesting. It's right,
Right?
and you're trying to paint that picture with words. So you can give a wonderful physical description, but for me, what makes a person interesting is do they have any kind of quirks? Do they have, what makes them different? What is it, a way that they speak? Is it a certain way that they look, or that they behave, or something like that? What makes that person interesting? We've all, I'm sure, met people that are perfectly lovely and then absolutely forgettable. As soon as you walk away from them, and it's the quirky people and maybe a little odd, or funny in a certain way, or whatever it is that makes them interesting. And I kind of look at the characters that same way. So my characters all have some quirks. Some of it is based on their history, um, but there's something about them that is a little offbeat sometimes, a little strange. And I get back to what I was talking about. You steal like an artist, right? So you're sitting in a coffee shop and you're listening to a conversation at a table nearby, and you're picking up bits of conversation and things like that, and like, oh, that would make an interesting character, kind of thing. Or you see a little scene on as you're walking along, you see a scene out on the street, and there's an older man, and he's got his granddaughter, and they're laughing and giggling, and they're having a wonderful time. It's one of those memorable moments, and you can, in your head, build a story around what is happening in that moment for them. What's the backstory for the grandfather? Where are the parents? Are they working? Is there something, wrong? What's happening here? And you just pull those things together, and store them away, and you can pull them out when you need them, or maybe it fits immediately and you're like, that's exactly what I needed for that character. So I'm always on the hunt, um, when I'm in the supermarket, or like I said, in a coffee shop, restaurant, whatever, and just seeing what's going on around me. And it's like I said, it's the same things that make a person interesting, I think, make a character interesting. But as an author, you have full control. You can go as much as you want into their background and explain all of their childhood traumas, or you can kind of gloss over it and say, well, here's the end result, and this is the way they are. So we all carry things with us, and like I said, it's those interesting little oddities, I think, that make characters interesting, whether it's sarcastic humor, or some kind of self-deprecating humor, or something. I put a lot of humor, with my characters, because the people that I worked with in the FBI were hysterically funny, deadly serious at times when they needed to be, but we all got to see each other's non-game face, right? Like, everybody has their game face when you're out on the street, or you're in an arrest situation or whatever, and then you come back and we all got to see everybody's non-game face, where they let everything down, and you could laugh and have some fun. So I have a lot of humor with my characters.
Yeah, that's you've got to have that. Do you find that with your antagonists as well, that
Oh,
building
oh my,
building
yeah.
those
The
dimensions for them as well?
oh, I think writing bad people is so much fun.
It is.
They are arguably
Sometimes
the most.
they're better than your protagonists, right? A lot of people really
Absolutely. They
like
are
them.
much more fun to write. They're not people
Yeah,
I would like to hang around with, but they are a lot more fun to write. They are a riot,
yeah.
to write. I mean, yeah, I love, and it's the same with movies and TV shows and other books, and that it is, you'll hear actors say it, that the juiciest parts often are those bad guys. They can really, just let it all hang out. And as a writer, you know, having your bad guys let it all hang out, I think is fantastically fun. So I try to, you know, throw some little the same quirks in there. I mean, what I found in the FBI is there are very few people that you could say are absolutely bad. Um,
Right.
everyone is a shade of gray.
Right.
And that goes from heroes to villains, right?
Right.
The best heroes in my book are flawed. Um, and whether slightly flawed or severely flawed, but there's flaws because we all have them. We are nothing. Nobody is pure white, and nobody is pure evil, right?
Right.
So it's those varying shades of gray in there, so I draw that from my FBI experience. That there's people out there, and you sit down and you interview. They did bad things, no question. They did bad things. They're not a horrible person, you know.
Right.
There are those people, they exist, but most of the people that you encounter, there's a reason that they've done bad things, um, and but they are themselves not evil. Um, so that I try to incorporate that um, in my stories as well. Um, Sometimes I think I succeed, and other times I'm like, yeah. I look back, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to do it a little differently if I could, but I try. That's the goal.
Yeah. So you're a fairly new author. So do you have any inspiring advice for anyone who wants to jump into this crazy world and write a book?
Yeah, yeah. Don't count on getting rich. Um, if you
Right.
if you're going to do it, you should do it because you enjoy it. Don't think of leaping into this with the idea that I'm going to, you know, this is going to be my living or anything. And people do, and they can make that work.
Mm-hmm.
But for I think most of us, you have to do it because you like it and you enjoy it.
It's a small percentage that are.
Yeah, a very small percentage are going to be able to make a very lucrative lifestyle from this. So if that's your goal, you might want to consider something else, but do it because it brings you joy and it brings you pleasure, um, and you enjoy the process and the craft, and you know along the way you will find people that read the book that really like it, and hearing from those people literally makes my day. If someone reaches out to me and says, hey, I read your book, I want to tell you I really enjoyed it, my day's made. That's it. I have to do nothing else that day to
Yes.
put a smile on my face. Um, you know, so do it for the joy. And if you have a handful of people that read your work and really like it, that's fantastic. But yeah, that's really my only advice. That and get a good editor. Um,
Yeah.
don't skimp on editing. Um,
It's
yeah,
tough
that
to
that's
find a good editor too, depending on
yes. Find a
what.
good editor and don't skimp on editing. Uh, but yeah, I was unprepared. I think for, like I said, and I get to call it a business. I mean, technically, you try and run it as a small business, but I was really unprepared for the business side of things. How to approach it. It's a the it's a steep learning curve, um, and you need to be prepared for that. If you're going to take that and you want to get some visibility and more readers and things like that, um, then be prepared to dig in on that. And it's there's an endless amount of material out there to educate yourself with. I have only scratched the surface, and some have worked for me, and some have not so much. So it's kind of a process. I think every author has to work through.
Well, there's a bit of money involved too at first. You've got to lay out, so
Yeah.
you've
Yep.
got to have some financial resources to. It's
To do
definitely a
it.
lost leader item at first, for sure,
Yeah. Oh
especially
yeah.
when you're independent and
Oh yeah.
self-published.
Unless you're independently wealthy and you don't care, right? But
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so knowing where to, we all have a limited amount of resources, knowing where to put those resources, what's going to be the best for visibility, and all of that. And like I said, for independents like me, you know trying to figure out Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and then to make those actually effective. It's not just throwing the ads out there. There's a lot of tweaking that you need to do. And like I said, it's a very steep learning curve, and I was not prepared for that. Um, when I started this, like I said, I just kind of backed into it, um, and discovered that I really enjoyed it. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up now, trying to figure all of this out.
So marketing tips, like you said, we talked a little. You talked a little bit about it, but
Yeah,
obviously there's those things you've got to do. You got to go to book events. You got to talk to other authors. You got to try to meet readers. But what else do you think is? Because I found the Amazon ads and, like you said, the Facebook ads, you can throw money just out the window
yep,
doing those a lot of times. So
absolutely. Yeah, that I was I was at a conference and an author said, and he put it very very well. He said something to the effect of, "Well, Facebook, whatever budget you give them, oh, they will spend it.
oh yeah,
They
it's
will
gone
spend
like that usually.
they will
Yeah,
spend it like
yeah.
that. Every nickel you have put into that, and you will probably see nothing back."
Yeah.
So I have found those to not be overly effective, um, for that. So I, I'm very new to this. I'm trying to get word of mouth. Encourage people to, um, leave a review, which not just for my books, any book you people read, folks read out there, please leave a review for that author. It's crucial. But trying to get reviews in there, trying to gain some notice. Um, and I think I haven't even really, I don't have a concrete plan, but one of the things that I would really like to do is develop a cadre of really excited, devoted fans. And it doesn't have to be a tremendous number, but and I think that is old school marketing, that they help amplify your voice, by literally talking to people, talking to their friends, book clubs, or posting something on their social media, to say, "Hey, this is a really fun book. Maybe check it out," kind of thing. Like I said, I don't have a concrete marketing plan. I'm still fumbling through this. If somebody is looking for marketing and advice from me, God help them. That's all I can say.
I've been doing it a long time, and I still fumble through a lot of it too. So it's
Yeah,
definitely challenging,
it is really, really the trickiest part of
and
this.
it changes all the time. Some stuff it'll work, and then it doesn't work.
I,
And then you
I've
try
heard
something
people
else, and
say
that
that.
might not work. Then all of a sudden, it does work, and yeah, it's
Yeah, I've heard people say that, where it's like, yeah, I was running these ads in this particular place and it was working great. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out and it just stopped.
yeah.
And uh, algorithms or something, I don't know. But nobody knows exactly what's going on with those, but who knows? But it does happen, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that is a constant process. And like you said, you've been doing it for a while. Some things work, some things don't work. Some things work for a while and then they stop. So you're constantly having to adapt, to relearn, and find a new path forward. And I'm still working my way through that process.
So we're about an hour here, so we'll start wrapping up here. But events you're going to do? I know you're going to be at Killer Nashville here in August. How many years have you been going to Killer Nashville?
I submitted Volk in 2023. And so that's the first year that I went. So this will be my third year.
3 years, yeah. Okay.
Um, Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and Volk won Best Supernatural in the Claymore Award category that year. Um,
Hey,
so yeah, so that's when I was kind of like, oh, this might work into something. So yeah, I'm going to Killer Nashville. I think I might try and do some um, uh, fairs and things like that in the local area here. There's some not farmers markets, but there's like a quirky little street fair kind of thing that I may try and do some things like that. So yeah, not I
I
don't have
do
a
really
whole lot.
well at holiday craft fairs. A lot of holiday, like high schools and stuff. When you get into holiday seasons, I'm usually busy most every weekend, and
Yeah,
I do really well at those. So
yeah, I've heard that. I want to try and do those. I want to try and get into some of those. So I'm trying to explore some of that, see what I can get into and how I might be able to do it.
are you going to BoucherCon this year? Did you go last year when they
I
were
did
back to
not.
back?
I have not been to BoucherCon. It's on my list of things that I want to try and do, and um, someday I may have the resources to go to every conference I want.
Well, again, it's yeah. There's a hefty cost involved. Obviously, I
Yeah,
mean, like you
yeah,
said, you could drive down from where you live to Nashville.
right.
Last year, BoucherCon was back to back with Killer Nashville, so we actually drove our motorhome out and stayed in Nashville for 2 weeks and just lived.
Yeah, yeah.
My wife can work remotely and stuff, and
Oh, that's
BoucherCon,
perfect.
they're really different events. Killer Nashville is more of a learning
Mhm.
conference and opportunity to get in front of agents and publishers and stuff like that. Not as many fans go to that. There are some, and a lot of aspiring authors go to that. BoucherCon has a good mix of fans and authors, and
Okay.
and that one's it's really good. This year it's in New Orleans. I wish I could go. It isn't going to work out for me to go because Michael Conley is going to be there, and I'd
Oh,
love to pick his brain. I
yeah.
mean, when you're a crime writer like I am, Michael Conley's like the top of the hill. He and Lee Child basically
Yes,
are
yes.
like there. But no, I met a lot of great authors, and then we're talking about going to uh, BoucherCon in 2026 is going to be in Calgary, and my wife and I are thinking
Oh,
about maybe going there because
oh,
we'd love
that
to
could
go.
be fun.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be in October, which weather we'll have to see what the
I was
weather's
just
going to be like in October. But
October in Calgary.
yeah, yeah, it might be a little iffy and stuff, all that and stuff. So, yeah.
I'll have to keep that on my. I'll have to take a look at that for my calendar if I can swing it because I would love to see Calgary. I'd love to get up there anyway. So that could be fun. That could be
Yeah.
fun. Well, let's make it. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Canada will let us come in. That'll be the other thing, right? All the politics going on in the world these days. All right, so where can people find you? I know I've got your website and you've got a email address here.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if they reach out to me, you can go to my website. You can. I've got links there. My books are available on Amazon. They're also available on BarnesandNoble.com. Um, so if you want to check them out there, they're also available Kindle books and on Audible. I recorded both books as audiobooks.
Oh,
If my voice in this podcast annoys you, don't get the audiobook because I recorded it myself. But yeah, they're available on Audible as well. So wherever you can get Audible books and audiobooks on there, you might be able to find them on there. So yeah, that's
and are
it.
you are you bringing some books with you to put in the bookstore at Killer Nashville?
Yes, yes. I'll bring some of both books and set up my table again down there. And part of the fun of that is I love talking to people.
Right.
Um, so if they want to come up, I can talk to them about the book and chat with them a little bit, and that's a lot of fun. I do enjoy that.
Yeah, and can people buy books direct through your website in any way?
No, I don't have that set up. So yeah, it's through Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com.
Well, I'm impressed that you did the audiobook yourself. That's a lot of time spent. Did you do all the editing and everything too?
I sat down with
The
uh,
gentleman you were talking about earlier?
yeah, gentleman,
Yeah.
Scott Ellis Reeds.
Yeah.
So I went up there. They have a in-house studio, and they rent a room out as an Airbnb. So I stayed in the house, get up, breakfast, go for my walk, come back, sit down, and record for 8 hours at 50-minute intervals, and take a 10-minute break, and then knock out a couple of chapters. And yeah, it's a process. It's a process.
Did you find any mistakes when you were doing
Oh
the?
God, yes. That was the painful
A few
part.
typos here and there.
Yes, I found, and when you're reading, and I did read them out loud, and somehow I missed them.
Still missed them, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, they come right out on there. So. And it's amazing how your brain, when you're reading words, you insert other words or omit other words. They're right there on the page. And then, the back person, working with the audiobook will flag it and say, hey, you missed this. I did miss that, didn't I? So then you've got to go back and re-record that paragraph and try and blend it in so it all fits right.
Yes. Great. Well, thanks, Darin. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground there. I hope people check out the books and enjoy them. If you enjoy them, let me know. And if you don't, well, you can let me know that as well.
Well, it's funny, Matt. Last week, Mark Cameron, he's a former U.S. Marshal, and he's written quite a few big series, and he took over the Jack Ryan series for a while after Tom Clancy passed away. And he doesn't do it anymore. And he said that was very stressful taking over that series. But but he was talking about his biggest advice: don't read your reviews.
Yes,
they just aggravate you and everything else, no matter what you do.
Oh yeah, no, I don't necessarily check those out. If somebody reaches out directly to me,
Right.
Either through the email or Facebook Messenger or whatever, then and say something, that's wonderful. But yeah, I try not to dwell on the reviews.
All right. Well, thanks, Darin. I appreciate you being on the show. I will definitely be looking for you at Killer Nashville. Hopefully, we get a chance to chat a little bit between all the. It's a lot going on there. So
there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
And, hopefully, I'll see you. We both are going to be on some panels, so we may be in there as well. But
I'll try and pop in on a couple of those, or if I can, and maybe I'll see you at the bar one night, and
I usually go down. I can usually handle one drink, so
there you go.
and it's free, so we're able to do that.
I'll buy you a free beer, Randy.
That's right. All right. Well, take care, Darin. We'll see you in a few weeks in Nashville.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you being on. Next week, I've got Christine. I was thinking Christine was on this week, but she's next week. Weavek, who's also going to Killer Nashville, and she was a big winner at Killer Nashville. Same year that I won. She won Best Overall Book, and she writes a lot of nonfiction, and cold case type stuff. So it'll be great. And she also comes to Deadwood each year as well. That's where we met as well. So, but take care, everyone, and we will see you. I think it's Monday night. We're going to be at 6 p.m. I'll have her on.